Yeah, I think we need to ask, what does our judicial system need to do? Not what do we need to do, right? The movement is doing what we're supposed to do. We are out here educating, organizing, building a strong movement. But what does our judicial system need to do? After everything they've seen, after all the evidence, after all the testimony, after all the narrative, what do they need to do differently? Right? They need to do their work. We need to lay this burden down at the feet of the people who have been charged with protecting us. That's what they said. It's their job to protect us. So they need to do. The question is, what have they gotten wrong? Not what we've gotten wrong. I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I'm sad because no matter what work we do, they still keep getting it wrong. So we can't do this by ourselves. They have to join us in this fight. If they believe what they say, you all said this. If you believe what you say, then do the work. Show up and show and prove. These are the moments when you can do it. And when the moments come to do it, they fail us.
It's a great day for the citizens of this city, the citizens of this state, the citizens for the United States of America, and to the world. America will uphold the laws of this land for everyone. No one's above the law, but no one's beneath the law either. We knew that Harvey Weinstein did not get a fair trial. And there's a quote from Judith Kaye, who is one of the great leaders of this state. She was the chief of the Court of Appeals of the state of New York. And the essence of it was, there are some people who are very unpopular in our society, but we still have to apply the law fairly to them. And in this courthouse behind us at that trial, the law was not applied fairly to Harvey Weinstein. And what the Court of Appeals, the highest court in the greatest state, in the greatest country, said today is that yes, no one is above the law, but no one is below the law either. And the case in which it relies upon is called the Molyneux case. It's over 100 years old. And what the Court of Appeals said, you can't throw out 100 years of legal precedent because someone is unpopular. I never anticipated those questions, so I really don't know the answers. So today's legal ruling is a great day for America because it instills in us the faith that there is a justice system, even though there's 100 cameras around, that a judge will sit in her chambers and look at the law and look at the precedent without fear of favor and say, I don't care who the defendant is. If it's a former president of the United States or the most storied Hollywood producer of our generation, the law applies to everyone. And I mistakenly didn't take her call, and then Judge Kamens called me, and we did not expect the decision to come out today, so we were in shock. But today, Judge Jenny Rivera, a real hero for women on this planet, said you can't convict someone based on their entire life and everything that they've done in their life. You can't allow more witnesses to come in and testify against the defendant than the defendant is actually charged with. You can't do that. What Judge Rivera wrote, over a century later, we reaffirm that no person accused of illegality may be judged on proof of uncharged crimes that serve only to establish the accused's propensity for criminal behavior. So the Court of Appeals deserves a tremendous amount of credit for doing this, based on the law, not based on opinion polls, not based on popularity contests. The decision, first of all, came out, and then relieved by what the decision was. But we didn't hear, it's not like I could pick up the phone and call Harvey until about, I think it was a little bit after. And let me tell you something about Harvey Weinstein. From the moment I met him at his office in Midtown, he profoundly declared his innocence. He said, if you're going to represent me, you need to know I didn't rape anyone, I didn't sexually assault any of these women who I am charged with. He said the same thing to me today. He's also said the same thing to me when the verdict was read and I sat next to him, and he said, Arthur, how could this happen? I'm innocent. I'm innocent. We're not in a rush. We don't come back from lunch for 15 minutes. So Harvey will be here. We will be announcing ready for trial on the first day we walk into that courtroom, because we are. And Harvey will, under this new ruling, be able to take the stand, will be able to tell his side of the story. Harvey was very gracious, very grateful. He called me actually 3 times. Look, he's in a horrible place, in a horrible situation, but the human spirit is strong, and so he has done the best he can. But it is chilling when a human being who is in his early 70s now says, Arthur, I've been in jail for 4 years for something I didn't do, and what was done improperly. We good? Thank you, everybody. Good luck with everything going on here.
So it feels like a real blow to the Me Too movement and to the victims here that I think are probably being re-traumatized by the overturning of this whole verdict. But I'm hoping that they'll keep in mind that this has nothing to do with their credibility. This is not a decision by the court that this wasn't rape, that these weren't serious charges, that they were not credible. This was really about an evidentiary ruling in the case. And it was a very broad ruling by the judge to allow in quite a bit of evidence that normally is kept out of trials. And I hope that they'll keep that in mind, and that the prosecution here was trying to amplify their voices by bringing in this testimony that often is kept out. The basic rule in criminal court cases is that we don't want jurors to decide cases based on the character of the defendant. We don't want people to say, well, he's a bad guy, so he should be convicted. Or, well, he did this before, so he probably did this now. That's not evidence of guilt. And so here, the court was looking at the judge's ruling, and the judge was trying to thread the needle and give instructions to the jury as to what they could consider the evidence for and what they couldn't consider the evidence for. But the judge did allow them to hear a lot of bit of what Weinstein did that wasn't actually at issue in this case. So I think that the prosecutor can easily retry this case and stay within the evidentiary rulings that the court has made. In other words, the victims here that the case really focuses on can come back, they can testify, and they can tell the story. It won't be as broad a story, but it can be a very compelling story. And so I would be surprised if Harvey Weinstein really wants to come and tell his story. But on the other hand, one of the things he argued is that he was literally kept off the stand because of certain rulings the judge made. There's always a risk when you try a broader case and you try to get in evidence that's evidentially risky. And so here it did backfire. And now we have this conviction overturned. But I think that the prosecutors may have been thinking about wanting to amplify the voices of these victims and wanting to tell the fuller story here of people who were kept off the stand because their cases were time barred.